welcome to the Hockey Hour. I'm Matt, here with Connor and Steve, and we're going to be talking all things hockey.
I guess first thing on our agenda is talk about the Leafs and the recent news that we heard that Shanahan has been authorized to give us a Leafs rebuild. What, Steve, start off with your thoughts about that?
You know, I like the move, but personally I felt like all we needed was a retool. I felt like we had the pieces to make a playoff push. All we needed to do was retool. When we got rid of Carlisle, we needed to make a trade then and there. Horacek isn't getting it done. Shanahan realized this. He just secured his job for another 3 years, in my opinion.
You know, I honestly think that the rebuild should have happened 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
In the Brian Burke era, it should have happened, and it didn't. He wanted to take the fast track by trading away his 2 first-round picks. Sure, we got Kessel, but, that's another story. We need to rebuild. I honestly think we need to rebuild. Build around the tools that we have now. Get rid of the older players. Get rid of all the cap. Just rebuild through the draft.
Yeah.
And I think that the big problem with the Leafs is that even when we're trying to have a rebuild year, they lose a bunch of games. Okay, we'll do a rebuild year this year, and then near the end of the season, they have this huge push for the playoffs, which by then it's already too late, and they've already screwed themselves.
Yeah, it's the same thing every single year. We move up the standings, and then we fall back down, and next thing you know, we get a 10th round or 10th overall pick.
Yeah, which is not cutting it.
No, we need a top 5 pick. Look at Morgan Riley. He was a top 5 pick, and he looks to be a future stud on this team.
He's the untouchable. In my opinion, he is the only untouchable on this team right now. Everyone else, I think, has a target on their back.
If you got fair value back for certain players, yes, I could say that he would be the only untouchable. There's harder players to move that this team still needs.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
players that are going to be a lot tougher to replace, as in JVR is a hard guy for me to want to get rid of, seeing as how he's had his best point production as a Maple Leaf in his career.
Agreed. He's a former 2nd overall pick.
Yeah.
He was picked right behind Kane.
Yeah.
He's got skill. He's a big winger.
He's got size.
Yeah, and that's tough to come by. I mean, you look out on the trade market right now, Chris Stewart's the only other one out there, and he's nowhere near James Van Riemsdyk.
He's a third liner.
No. Yeah, so JVR, he is completely... To me, he's one of their core players that they should build around. Him, Morgan Riley.
Unless you get more than what you should get for JVR. If you cannot bring in more than what that guy is worth, you can't move him.
No, exactly. I mean, you think we gave up Luke Shen to get JVR. That we would have to get... I honestly think we would probably be looking at a high, top 10, top 15 first-round pick for this year in a deep draft, a high-end prospect, and maybe another pick or another current roster player to fill the void.
Yeah, fill the void.
At least for JVR. Those big wingers are tough to come by.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
It's kind of reversing this, since you guys are talking about who they can't really move. Who do you guys think are the most likely players on the Leafs that we're going to probably get moved?
Well, Franzen. Franzen's got to be the number one. I mean, he's a right-hand defenseman. People want him. Teams want him. Teams like Detroit looking to get that right-hand defenseman. He's a big target out there right now. They got other players like Santorelli, Winnick, who are obviously on the way out. They've said that Kessel and Phaneuf aren't in their future plans. I don't think that happens soon. I think that's
you might see that more at draft day.
Yeah.
A draft day push to maybe move up in the draft if we don't like where we're at.
You never know. Jack Eichel, he's a generational talent. Maybe a player like Phil Kessel would swing the deal.
Yeah, exactly.
To get that.
You could see a Phil Kessel, alongside a first or a second or even a prospect. Look to see Phil Kessel be that piece, because Phil Kessel's 30-goal scorer. He's I believe it's second in the league for right wingers over the past 3 or 4
seasons. Something like that.
Yes.
It's up there. He's up there for sure.
Behind Alexander Ovechkin.
Yeah.
And he's one of the premier scorers when he gets it done.
He's one of the Leafs' best pure goal scorers in a long time.
I say the best in...
You would probably have to go back Alexander McGillney to find a better pure goal scorer.
Yeah.
He does not have a complete game.
No.
That's
But that's never why we acquired him.
We got him to score goals, and he's done that. He's done a great job. The slump he's in, he's always been a streaky player. You never know.
We're just noticing it because of the losing streak that's accompanied by it, and it's bigger. It's bigger than the forwards.
Mm-hmm.
The losing streak right now is bigger than the forwards. It's the defense. It's the defense combined with goaltending. They're putting the goalies in tough positions where they got to make big saves early. They're not making big saves early. We're losing games in the first period, and you can't win a game in the first, but you can for sure lose a game in the first.
How many times have we let in a goal within the first 5 minutes of the game? Hell, even 2.
Yeah.
2 goals in the first 5 minutes. You're down 2-0, and you got to climb back up.
It's tough. It's a tough position.
Yeah, it's difficult to give your team confidence right off the start. Do you see perhaps teams wanting to pick up Kessel on the trade deadline, maybe for a playoff push?
I don't know if that's the case, just because of the $8 million of a cap hit that is accompanied by him.
7 years at $8 million cap hit per season. That's a lot to get teams that are already in playoff contention. No other team has $8 million in cap space.
You have to give up players that are worth that amount. So whether piecing together a bunch of $3 million roster players, and mind you, the Leafs only have about $1.5 million of cap space to work with to get a deal going.
Yep.
So it's got to be value for value. So if you're pushing out that $8 million at the trade deadline, another team's got to, the Leafs have to bring that $8 million.
And you look at what you would have to get back for Kessel too to make it even worth your while to trade him at the trade deadline. There's no way. I just don't see him being moved at the trade deadline. Like Marian Gaborik was last year, getting moved to Los Angeles to make that final playoff push, but he had a much lower contract.
Yeah, I think he's only 4.
He was at 1 year as well. Yeah. 1 year that he re-signed with them.
And that's the thing too. You see a lot of players in their final year of their contract. Those are the players to get moved. Like we talked about, Franzen, Santorelli, and Winnick. All in the Santorelli and Winnick were both signed to 1 year deals. Franzen's coming off the end of his deal. He's about a 3.3 cap hit right now. And this is a final year in his deal, and he's an unrestricted free agent.
Mm-hmm. And he's already turned down a $4.6 million cap hit for 3 seasons by the Leafs. They offered him, I think, a week or 2 back. Yeah. He turned it down. He says he wants to remain with the Leafs, but the numbers he's putting up is $5 million worth.
Yeah. He's going to get you some. Yeah. He's got one of the most unique shots in the league with that
fools goalies all the time.
With that quarter swing slap.
Yeah.
It's definitely he can quarterback a power play. You know, he can make solid defensive plays. He's a big body.
He is very big.
He's a big body. It's not like he's a Morgan Riley where he's really good offensively, but he's small in stature. Mm-hmm. No, he's a bigger boy. He's like 6'3", 6'4".
If he could figure out how to lay a vicious hit with that talent,
with that size,
he would move up.
Defenseman.
He does, and he's right-handed as well, which is huge in this league.
Yeah,
a lot of pairings are missing that top right-handed defenseman, and no, he is not in elite company right now. No. But you go up.
He slots in a top 4 so well.
Yes, he makes that playoff push that much better for a team.
He adds depth to your defense. He can step up. He can get you 40 points.
And
in the season.
He can play top 2. Whether on deeper teams he's more suited for top 4.
Yeah.
But he can play top 2, as shown in Toronto. He's excelled. Honestly, he 27 years old. He's much better than what we were ever expecting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, he's got to go to a team like Chicago, who's already got established defensemen.
Yeah.
You look at Chicago, they have Keith, Hjalmarsson, Seabrook.
Right there.
They need somebody to replace what Leddy left.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I think
who's been very good this year. Leddy has been amazing.
Yeah.
Sort of keeping with that same sort of trade sort of Leafs. What do you guys think about the recent push for Bozak, trying to get him and kind of getting shopped around?
I think it's very smart to start with your number 1 center. He's not a legitimate number 1 center.
He's a number 2 center. Let's get the facts straight.
Yeah.
He's had success because he has been able to give Kessel the puck when Kessel's been able to score almost 40 goals.
Yep.
You got a winger on your line that's going to score you almost 40 goals, plus playing with JVR, who, like I said earlier, had his most points ever as a Maple Leaf.
30 goals last season.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You got that.
They're making him look a lot better. Like, I'm not saying he's bad, but they're making him
look. But as
look.
a line, when they get going, they have tremendous chemistry.
They had.
Don't
it's
have
gone.
anymore.
It's gone. I don't know.
No, it's gone.
I don't want to speculate. I don't know whether it's Horacek, whether it's they're uncomfortable with the current situation of the team, whether it's just a slump. I don't know. I'm not in the locker room.
Can't really.
You don't know if everything that's going on with Kessel and all these trade rumors and being demoted to the fourth line, which I think was ridiculous. I don't think a star player should be demoted to a fourth line.
Yeah.
That's just going to get
back
him
on minutes, but I mean, you
putting him out there with Booth and who else was out there on the fourth line?
Booth, Panic, and
their fourth line keeps switching up.
We're alternating between.
Yeah,
Trevor
was it
Smith
Holland or Smith?
Holland.
Smith. Yeah, he played with Booth and Smith on the fourth line a few games back.
That's not going to help him.
No,
that doesn't
get you out of a slump.
That's a punishment. That's not. Let's teach him. Let's get him out of this slump. Get him back up and going.
You got to put Kessel with players who are going to get him the puck, because Kessel reminds me of a Steven Stamkos. Sets up in his spot, give him the puck, and he's going to
just below that hash mark lower circle part.
Yes, Kessel has shown that he can
there.
carry the puck into the zone and then fire. As you know, I thought he was going to get out of his slump when he scored against Arizona a few games back. You know, he put a knuckler right in between Mike Smith's pads. I thought for sure,
he's been like that.
Confidence.
Like he's been like that where he goes on these 10, 12 game slumps, whatever. It's always has been as a Leaf, and that's why he's never broken the 40 goal plateau.
Exactly.
Because he has those slumps. But normally all it does is take one to get him going. It hasn't worked yet. And I'm not sure if it's the new coach wanting a more defensive style game from him.
I think it's scheme. I don't think he's being played the way.
No. It's interesting though. Like, it makes you wonder if the whole Leafs motto this year was, once they started falling out of contention, Carlisle, sure, he took the blunt of the blame. But was that the right move?
In my opinion, when you fire a coach, you need a replacement immediately.
And Horacek wasn't it.
He's an interim.
Yeah.
He's an interim. You can't do that. If you're going to fire your head coach, you need to have someone lined up.
Especially with the way the Leafs fired him. They were firing him in the hopes that they could bring in someone new and and try to get this playoff run back going. Whereas literally they just put in interim, which basically tells the players, okay, this year is done. We're not trying for a huge push for the cup or something like that. So
what if they knew they weren't trying to push for the playoff at all, like you just said?
Yeah.
What if the whole, after Carlisle was fired, it was like, let's tank. This is a deep draft. What if, right? Yeah. You don't know what's going on.
They're never going to admit that.
No.
Because as a professional in sports, you never want to say we're purposely losing.
No. Yes. But they could very well be knowing that we need to rebuild. Who knows? Shanahan could have got the word 2 months ago.
Oh, for sure.
And they're just releasing it now.
And just saying now that they're in a really bad spot, okay, we're fire sailing. Which I still don't think that they should have came out and said, because that devalues the players.
Yeah, it makes us
it takes Cody Franzen from getting a first and a middle high end prospect, like a B plus A prospect coming back to more of just a B prospect, maybe getting that late first, right? Just because you know that they're desperate to get rid of him. You know he's not re-signing at the end of this year.
Yeah, they've already tried. So
it's just tough to say. All you can do is speculate.
Mm-hmm.
You think you know what's going on, and you never really know because we're not in the locker room, we're not in the offices.
We're not the players.
We're just fans who love the game and who are just tired of
watching
1967.
It's like playing Jenga. We're pulling out pieces and we're just waiting for it to fall. And we're tired of playing this game of waiting for the Leafs to fall.
Okay, let's take it back a couple years. Leafs make the playoffs for the first time in 8 years with Reimer. Next season, in the offseason, they bring in Bernier. Good decision? Bad decision? What do you guys think about the goalie situation now?
Okay. Looking at it from a general manager standpoint, you got this young goaltender who's been backup for Jonathan Quick, backup for a Stanley Cup champ. He's watched a great goaltender like Jonathan Quick. He becomes available. What do you think you're going to do? Yeah, you just made the playoffs, but you got eliminated in Game 7, and the other team scored 4 goals in the last 15 minutes of the game.
You can never blame that all on Reimer.
No. Oh, God, no.
Which is...
Oh, God, no.
I love Reimer. I really do love Reimer. I love the heart that he has. You can tell Leafs were never fully behind Reimer going into it. When he got called up in his rookie season from the Marlies, yes, he impressed. But how many times did Gustafsson get another chance back in the net?
Yeah.
It's his rebound control was never there. And to calm a game down, I can see why they went out and tried to get Jonathan. Well, they got Jonathan Bernier, and relatively cheap too. I mean, Scriven's a career backup. No matter what if he is, he's a starter in Edmonton. He's not a starter anywhere else in the league.
No, yeah, for sure.
Maybe on Buffalo. But you gave up Ben Scrivens, Matt Fratton, who's now, he's in the Marlies now, right?
Yeah.
He cleared waivers to go back to the Marlies. You got him back, which I think was still ridiculous. If you're not going to play him, why did you trade away another asset?
Yeah.
Who did they get rid of?
For Fratton?
It was a trade back.
I can't remember.
Lower name players, but I remember that he had higher potential than Fratton did.
Yeah.
I mean, in the back of their mind, sure, like Fratton had chemistry with Kadri, but did they ever play him with Kadri? No.
They
played him as like a 13th forward.
Yeah.
Where if someone on the 4th or 3rd line isn't producing, we'll throw you in for a game or maybe 2.
Yeah. So like you threw that, and then I think it was a second, right? A second round pick, and at the time they just made the playoffs, so they're not looking to rebuild through the draft yet. They think they've got their core. JVR.
They're looking to retool, bring in pieces, and one of the pieces they brought in was a Bernier.
Yeah, and who in that first season had a stellar year.
Yep.
Once he got hurt, Ryan, like the whole team fell off the wagon, and it went downhill with
Jenga collapse.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jenga
Once again, another collapse.
Another
collapse.
Well, we've seen it time and time again.
Yeah.
So going back to your question, in hindsight, we'd love to say, hey, did bringing in Jonathan Bernier wreck Reimer's confidence? Who knows? Did he have confidence to begin with? Who knows? Because again, we're not him. We don't know him personally.
He puts on a big smile after every game, but you don't know if it's actually how he's feeling.
That's how he does every game.
He wears his emotions on his sleeve, pretty much. He's that type of guy, and it's you wanna see him succeed.
Yeah, you wanna like the guy.
He was drafted by Toronto in the 4th round. He was a feel-good story for Toronto. Actually, a goalie that we kept.
Yeah.
It didn't trade away for. We let him develop.
Off Tuukka Rask.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh God.
Oh man.
Well, hey, let's keep Justin Pogge.
Let's get Raycroft. Yeah. Good choice, guys.